Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
All right, very welcome along to Friday Night Racing. It's Jerry Gilroy and Johnny Ward with you every Friday afternoon, bang on 3 o'clock. We talk about the big stories in racing and bring you some of the biggest names in racing as well. And obviously every Friday evening at 8 o'clock you can hear us again on Off the Ball on News Talk. If you want to get involved in the conversation, you can leave a comment on the YouTube stream. You can tweet us at Off the Ball, and either way we'd love to hear from you. I'm delighted to say that Mark Enright is our guest this week. Mark, good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Last time you were on the show, you were a jump jockey, and now you're a flat jockey. So it's fair to say it's been a while.
It has. That was 2018, after winning the Galway Plate. We decided to change things up a little bit since then. Just through injury and one thing or another, my weight was quite good, so I decided to switch back to the flat and give it a go.
Because I think we might have talked about this before. You actually started out as a flat apprentice and things were going great, but then you switched to the jumps. Just bring us back to maybe at the very start when you were deciding to get into this. What was your dream when you were, smacking yourself in the ass and pretending to be in a race? Were you winning the Grand National or were you winning the Derby?
It was always the Grand National, It was always to be a jump jockey, I suppose. And I started off, and as a claimer or whatever, my weight was always going to be against me. So I always wanted to be a jump jockey. And so I started on the flat. Obviously, it's either you kind of start on the flat, or most people start out in the flat as an apprentice, or start off in point to points as an amateur and progress to conditional ranks then that way. But I started off in the flat as an apprentice with a fuzzy stack, and obviously my weight then, I got a little bit too heavy to be claiming on the flat, and started riding over jumps then, and things were great for a while, and we tipped away at it, and we done okay. And I suppose one thing led to another then. After a lot of injuries, and my weight actually levelled off the older I got, so I decided to make the switch back to the flat.
So what is your walking around weight on an average month without big parties or without doing too much work?
So I kind of be waking up 9 stone every morning, so I mean 8:12, 8:10 is kind of reachable from there, but every morning is kind of 9 stone, so it wasn't always that when I was a jump jockey, mind, but no, I just have to watch it and control it, my diet a little bit more, and we're giving it a go anyway, so we're keeping the weight right anyway,
And is part of that just maturing as well, where you get to a point where you understand what the rhythm of the week is going to be, when you're going to train, when you need to eat, when you need to recover?
It is definitely, in my younger days, I'm a lot lighter now than when I was an apprentice in the flat. When I started out, obviously I was about 8.5 stone, and then it kind of shot up to 9.5 stone, and it's something that I've got the hang of now. So I mean, when I'm racing most days, it's easy look after it, because you're busy and you're only eating little bits and you're keeping hydrated and whatever else. Whereas on an easy week, it's a little bit harder, all right, when you're sitting on the couch and after finishing riding out of the morning, if you've nothing on for the evening, it's you have to keep away from the fridge.
Yeah, when we had Davy Russell on lately, Mark, he was on about that he said he'd put on weight now. I think he may have put on a stone, if not less, but he was really, really hard line on what you eat. And I think Davy's indiscretion to the rest of us would be literally a normal day, if not actually a good day. So his indiscretions, because he's been looking after his weight, was whatever he ate was probably a sandwich, or maybe a bit of chocolate or something. But he was basically saying, God, I hated the feeling of it. It didn't suit me at all. It must be kind of weird. Jockeys must get into this mode where their hunger maybe becomes just something that's there, and you almost start forgetting about it after a while. I've also come across Lorcan Wire. Lorcan is massive into cycling since he left the jockey game, and he's incredibly fit. But one thing that he doesn't really do when he's cycling is eat. And anyone I've cycled with who knows of Lorcan cannot get their head around how he doesn't collapse. But it seems to be that his body is just
Used to it now.
Used to it after all these years. I think he doesn't really even believe in eating when you're cycling, which for most cyclists would just you'd drop, you'd collapse. Is it a jockey thing that over time your body just it just adapts and it almost doesn't expect food like a normal person or whatever?
Yeah, I suppose it probably does. I don't really know the science behind it, or if there is science behind it. But on a racing day, if I'm busy in the morning right now, I mean, it's a coffee, maybe a little bit of chocolate. And if I'm going to the races, then I won't eat before I ride. Some of that is due to obviously doing light weights, and but a lot of it is I just don't eat. I don't have the best of stomach, so I don't like riding on a full stomach, you know, because it sit in your stomach, it make you feel a little bit sick, you know. You're busy, and I mean, in a race finish, you're pushing yourself, you know. So yeah, it's just something I don't do. I don't think about it a whole lot now. Obviously, a little bit of fruit and stuff at the races is fine or whatever, but like I wouldn't be eating a meal or a big breakfast roll or anything. Even when I was riding over jumps, you know, I'd never filled my stomach going racing. It's just I like to ride on an empty stomach, I suppose.
That's like, I think so much of this is, and this isn't really a racing thing, but I think so much of this is mind over matter. It's that, like, if you say to yourself every day after 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm just not eating after that, and you have a decent meal around lunch or that, after a while it'll be just completely normal. Whereas I think for some people, like, they can't even, like, after 7 or 8 o'clock, they can't not eat after that, and then they go to bed and, like, their stomach should have been kind of fasting going to bed, but that's not the case. And I think jockeys are probably a good example that you can get by perfectly well without necessarily gorging like we do.
Absolutely. I think a lot of it is in the mind, you know. Hunger is in the mind. I find that as long as I'm hydrated, I'm fine. You know, obviously on a warm day like today, you know, if you're busy in the morning, once you keep a drop of water or a sports drink or something into you, you know, once there's no thirst, once you're hydrated, I find that I could go without food for days, you know.
And what's your main meal of the day then? Is it dinner time after you've, like, and what time is that at?
Dinner time is my main meal. Sometimes lunch. If I'm not racing, it'll be lunch. I'll try and have a decent lunch, and that kind of keeps me going for the rest of the day. But dinner time after racing, I mean, if it's an evening meeting or whatever, you might be getting out of, just say, Ballinrobe or someplace at 8 o'clock at night. You know, it's probably just a sandwich on the road or something. You know.
Right. And what would a decent lunch be on a day where you're not racing? Like today, for example, you're not racing. Yeah, a good lunch is it?
So today I got a nice salad from Chopped on the way home there from Junction 14. So just a nice big salad, bit of chicken and loads of salad. So that'll keep me going now for the day.
That is healthy.
And this is new, is it? Like, so when you were a jump jockey, were you literally having breakfast rolls, or maybe later in the day, you know, having a because you can fill a breakfast roll with a lot of stuff. Like once you start sticking in the hash browns.
I suppose it hasn't changed that much. It's just I'm more conscious of what I eat. You know, it's like I might have could have picked up a McDonald's, for instance, when I was riding over jumps, and I wouldn't have thought about it. Whereas now I'd go for the healthier option rather than the takeaway or something. You know, yeah. I'm probably still eating not a whole lot different, like portion size wise and stuff like that. I'm still eating enough, but it's just. I'd go for the healthier option now rather than the takeaway and the processed stuff, you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Our guest this week is Mark Enright. This is Friday Night Racing here on Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Can you take us back to so last time you were on, we were talking about winning the Galway Plate as a jump jockey. Was it still in your head at that point, at some point in the future, to go back to being a flat jockey, or... You know, at that point, did you feel like you were committed to being a national hunt jockey for the foreseeable future?
At that stage, I was definitely committed, yeah, because look, things were going great at the time, and you know, at that stage, there was no reason to change. You know, I was tipping away, riding plenty of winners, and you know, I suppose that there was injuries, but they were few and far between at that stage, and you know, things were going well, so I never even thought about it. And it was just until I think it was probably the year after I won the Galway Plate, so it would have been 2019. Just it was one fall after the other and one injury after the other, and you know, every time you come back, you're coming back to less and less because there's new lads getting in where you were, and I mean it just becomes harder and harder, and I suppose the injuries take their toll then as well, and after each injury I was coming back to a lot less and a lot less and a lot less. So I just decided my weight was very good, so I said, sure, why not give it a go.
This is the thing as well that we spoke about when Rory Cleary was on after winning the Guineas. Big race win makes almost no difference whatsoever to a journeyman jockey, and I say that in the nice possible way. Like when you won the Galway Plate, Mark, it didn't entitle you to any more rides at all, really, did it?
It didn't. I got a few more rides for the couple of weeks afterwards and stuff, but they weren't good rides or anything. I didn't get on any good horse after it. The game has gone so tight now, I don't think it makes any difference. It's just there's 2 or 3 lads in every place, and you're just going to ride what you're going to ride for who you ride for, and that's kind of it,
How difficult is that decision to make, to go away from being, or is it very straightforward in your own mind at that point, going, well, I've extended this out as far as I can, it's a diminishing returns, I may as well try something else?
It wasn't a simple decision, no, because obviously jump racing was where my heart was, and that's where I based myself, and I suppose that's what I knew. The flat is a different game. You have a lot of different trainers, different people, and it was pretty much like starting all over again. I'd actually planned to go to the UK, to the north of England, and start out there just through Niall Hannity. He's an agent over there. I was going to go over there and give it a go, and obviously COVID kicked in then, and I decided to stay in just that I'd see what happened. And it's been tipping away since. It's slow, but we're tipping away.
How transferable are the skills? Because obviously it's riding a horse, so there's huge amounts of very similar things. But I guess there's some significant differences between the flat jockey and the jump jockey, is there?
There is massive. It's massive, and it takes plenty adjusting to as well. You're going a lot faster. The decisions become split-second decisions. Not that they're not over jumps, because you have to be fairly sharp thinking, but it becomes even sharper on the flat. And, I even the first few sprint races I rode in, I thought it was easy going in a straight line. Kind of half laughing about it. I was only getting myself together, I'd only grabbed a hold of the horse and we were nearly past the line, So it does take a fair bit of adjusting to.
That's the thing, like a sprint race is a minute, give or take, and you can go too fast in a sprint race, can't you? Like, I mean, that's the mad thing. Like the horses, it's not flat out. It's not like a 2 furlong race that you can still go too fast. Richard Hughes used to love coming from behind in a sprint race, which is amazing when you've maybe 15 seconds to the line and you still have a load of horses to pass. But like, that just must there's a skill to it as well. Obviously you're not necessarily riding front runner, but what side of the track you are, how you brake. I mean, as much as it's only a minute, the horse's race could be over after 30 seconds.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's now it does happen quite fast, but you have the brake, you have to get away good and sharp, you have to be where you want to be. Like a lot of horses need covered up, and they can be quite keen as well in the sprint races, and you're trying to take them back for a couple of furlongs, get into a nice rhythm, get them breathing. It's not just go as fast as you can for the 5 or 6 furlongs or whatever it is. It's no, you have to ride a race, and there's a lot of tactics involved in it, and you most definitely can go too quick.
What's the top speed that your horse will hit in a race like that? Say, for argument's sake, say if you're riding in a proper good sprint.
I wouldn't be quite sure. I suppose it'd be in the 40s anyway, would it? Miles per hour it would be. It's some thrill now. It's some thrill going that speed, and thank God there's no jumps in front of you going that speed.
Well, you've ruined what I was going to say there, because when I spoke to you about a month or 2 ago, you said I just do not get the same thrill at all from the flat. But maybe you do now.
No, it's a good thrill going that fast, but no, I don't think anything will ever compare to the thrill of jump racing. The thrill of a good handicap chaser, proper good chaser, winging a fence. There's no other feeling like that.
Which bit? The bit before you take off, the bit when you're in the middle of the air, or the bit when you safely land and you know that you've navigated it properly?
I think that bit of looking for that stride, or looking for that long one, that long stride, and when the horse comes up for you, and I suppose when you're in mid-air, that's a great feeling, and especially a 2-mile chaser. I didn't ride too many good ones, but I experienced it once or twice, of flying down to a fence, going proper fast, and looking for that long stride and getting it. You know, that's a proper feeling.
Am I right in saying you're not from a completely dyed-in-the-wool racing background, that it was a bit random that you got interested in the jumps game in the first place?
It was very random, yeah, very random. There's no background at all there. So I think I watched, was it Hector did a thing with Pat Flynn.
Here. Is that what got you into it? Yeah, I remember that well. Yeah, that was a great show, actually.
Yeah, that's what got me into
Only
racing.
Fools Buy Horses?
Only Fools Buy Horses. I watched that.
What age were you?
I was still in primary school, and I'm not sure what age. I maybe 10 or 11 maybe.
Right.
And watched that, and I decided after that then I wanted to be a jockey. Little did I know, you know.
Just goes to show these things work, these programs work.
I'm telling you, and that's God, it's honest truth, yeah. That's how I got the bug for it, and I liked it at the start. But now at that stage, I wanted to be everything, you know. I wanted to be a Limerick hurler too, but I wasn't good enough for that.
Still time.
Not now.
Still time.
I don't know. I think that maybe they're doing okay. You know, a couple of years back when they were struggling, you might have made a decent case for it. Right now, there's not that many openings.
I might be looking for the water boy.
Well,
on that show, Gerald, there's a beauty in like, and I've always thought this, the beauty in the struggle, and the fella who's not like, I can't exactly remember the horse that Pat trained for Hector, but like he or she, huh? Traverse. Was it a she?
I don't know.
Whatever it was, anyway, whether it was a gelding or it was moderate. But the whole story behind it was engrossing. It was really, and like I was a bit like you. I don't know, Fish. I was probably, I don't know, was half getting into racing at the time. I was into it a little while, but I found that story and just the highs and lows and the interaction between Hector and Pat, who's a great character himself. It made a 0 to 60 horse feel like something that really, really got you going.
It did, definitely, and I remember it well, and it's years since I've seen it now, but it was a great show, and then you had all the faces on it, you know, and like, little did I know, a few years on I'd be meeting them all and like riding. I've rode a good bit for Pat and that, and you know, I've met majority of the people that were in it, so it just shows like anything's possible, you know, that I was looking at this at home, knew nothing about racing or knew nobody in racing, and you know, watched it on television and said, that's what I want to do now. And little did I know it would happen, you know.
And Mark, when you're telling your family and your friends that you've seen this thing on telly and you're going to do it, are they like, yeah, no problems, off you go? Or are they like, what? I mean, it's kind of an alien world.
Yeah, well, that was it, you know. Well, I suppose at that stage everything was a fad and a phase, you know. I wanted to be this one week and something else the next week, and yeah, there was a friend of mine then in school, David Small was his name, and he used to ride out on the weekends for in Lee's Cross, Billy Lee's home place. So I met him. I went to school with him for years, so I said to him one day, I'll come over some weekends. So he said, come on. So I went over there and just got into it that way. Went to a riding school then, started riding ponies, and just got into it that way, yeah.
And there must have been some point though where you realised this is like, it's working out for me. It's not, you know, there's a lot of people who go and do stuff and want to be a Limerick hurler, but maybe, you know, you weren't as good as Cian Lynch, say. Whereas actually it turns out you're quite a good jockey. So at some point the penny drops with you. You know what, I'm actually good at this and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, well, it took a lot of getting used to, but I just loved horses when I started doing it. And outside of watching the show and whatever else, it just, when I started doing it, I actually enjoyed doing it, and I had a love for horses, you know. So, you know, there was never a question of, am I good enough at this or whatever. I was doing it for the love of it, regardless of whether I was good, bad, or indifferent at doing it. You know, I was just doing it for the love of it, and I enjoyed doing it, and it became easy. It wasn't the job, so I just done it because I liked doing it, and you know, I'm still doing it.
How many kids, if they got the notion to do what you did, what percentage of them would fall in love with horses?
I reckon a lot of them. Yeah, I reckon a lot of them. I mean, everyone's different, but I mean, if you're an outdoor sort of fella, you know, like, I suppose times are changing and generations are changing, you know. A lot of it's social media now, and you know, a lot of kids aren't playing outside, you know. Like when I was younger, it was all cycling around on the bike, poking the ball around with the hurley, you know. I was always outside and just wanted to be outside. So I suppose it came natural to me then with horses being outside all the time. Whereas I suppose the new generation, a lot of them are inside behind computer screens, so it's hard to know.
Well, you, as a young parent yourself, are you conscious of that then? Because I don't have kids, but if I did, I think a massive challenge would be like inculcating in them a love of the outdoors and sport and all of that, whilst conscious of the fact that, I mean, the tide is all towards phones and, as you say, computers and social media and yada yada. So, like, you're a young girl, what do you want her to do, and how can you encourage without pushing too far, I suppose?
Yeah, sure. I suppose it's like anything, and I suppose the old cliche. I won't force them to do anything, but if they want to do it, I'll support them. But no, she has a pony. She's only 4, and she has a pony. She loves the pony, but she likes sitting down watching television as well, and the Disney channels and that. But I mean, no, she's outside a good bit on the bike and stuff. So I'd encourage as much as I can out on the bike and, out with the pony, and so
sounds like she's doing all right. She's only 4 now, in fairness.
She got a present to the pony, so she's all right. She's all right. I didn't pay for it, so that's good. But,
have you still any money left from all the money you spent on Limerick when they partied to win the All Ireland after you won the plate, or?
No, and if I did, it was gone after last weekend. So
there you go. You got to celebrate these things.
Oh, you do, especially when the team is as great as the team at the moment. You've obviously got a strong GAA background. You're wearing one of the rarely spotted pink tops.
It's orange. It's orange. I bought it in O'Neill's. I have a couple in the wardrobe though, with I suppose not seen outside of the dressing room. I got a few off Shane Dowling that had shrunk in the wash. So no, we have plenty of them.
You can wear it as a onesie or something like that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. No, he gave me a few of them. He shrunk them in the wash. So no, we have the wardrobe full of them.
You must be nearly fed up with it now after, I know it was a long wait, but 3 of them, like Joe Brawley was saying, Dublin got bored of winning. You're probably edging that way as well, are you?
We'll never get bored of it. We were starved of it for long enough. So no, we won't be getting bored of it anytime soon.
Can I ask you about the actual the game itself now? And you're entering a stage of your career where you've got the experience of being successful as a jump jockey, and you've seen the other side of it now, where the injuries have prevented you from doing what you want to do. So there must be kind of a steely determination that comes from, I'm still in this game, and actually you're starting to make a success of being a flat jockey again. So what do you do to focus the brain to continuously get better and not get complacent, and make sure that if there is an opportunity, you're going to be ready for it?
Yeah, I suppose before I made the switch, like, things had gone downhill over jumps. Obviously I got 3 different injuries in one season, and like every time I came back, I was coming back to nothing, basically. Searching and scraping for a ride, and I suppose I probably got a little bit sour with the game and a little bit chippy, and it was just, I suppose I felt a bit sorry for myself. Why can't I ride that? Am I not good enough to ride that? And I did get a bit sour of it.
What got you out of that?
Do you know what? I made the switch to the flat, and I said I'd start all over again and just give it a proper go. And if it doesn't work out, then at least I know I've given it a proper go. And you know what? I actually don't read too much into it anymore. I just enjoy it now. I work very hard. I'm on the road early every morning to God knows what time, riding out all over the place. Anyone that'll have me, I'll ride out for them. And so I'm working hard, and I do my form, I all of that. But you know what? I actually, on the track, I know what I need to do, and I don't overthink it. I just enjoy it now, And I think if you're putting too much pressure on yourself to do something, you're going to make mistakes. Obviously, everyone makes mistakes anyway. But I kind of had the mindset now that, you know what, we're here to do a job, but we're going to enjoy it while we're doing it, and it keeps me fresh, and I am enjoying it. Things, I think, when you go with that mind frame, things happen naturally, rather than you're trying to make something happen. They don't always work, And how
open were people when you were saying, I'm making the switch and I need some help and I need to get some rides at the very start? Because when you're not starting from zero, because obviously you've got a reputation. You did have people who you would have worked with when you were an apprentice as well. So you know people and you have contacts, and I guess you have an agent working for you as well. But how open were people to the fact that you were making this switch, and that they were taking a bit of a punt on you at the start as well when you were making the switch?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose like it was hard. A lot of them, like as I said, there's 2 or 3 jockeys everywhere. But Billy Lee was very good to me. Obviously Billy's from down near my home place, and we've been good friends for a long time. So Billy kind of brought me into a few different places, introduced me to new trainers and stuff, and just got me into places, riding work. And Billy's a top class jockey, and riding work with Billy, it sharpened me up a good bit, and yeah, just kind of like that, just went wherever I could get in, and started going back down to Fozzie Stack, who I was apprenticed to, in the early days, and who have a great relationship with. We get on very well, and Fozzie started putting me up in the odd one here and there, and obviously Chris Hayes is a stable jockey down there, but Fozzie just started using me here and there, and I've had a good bit of luck for him, and he supports me a lot now.
That's the point. Like, Mark is doing well. Is there any aspect of this that the jumps jockey does have an advantage? My mind goes back to the Cheltenham bumper, for example, where the flat jockeys would come in and there'd be a stream of thought, like, you can't back the flat jockey against the national hunt jockey up the hill at Cheltenham. He or she isn't going to be that strong. Is there any aspect of that where the jump jockey in a finish might have a bit more strength than the light flat lad?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. If you look at a lot of the jockeys now, they're proper athletes. Like the flat jockeys, they're small, they're light, but they're fair strong. Like Wayne Lorden, he's only about 8 stone, but he's as strong as an ox. And they're very strong tactically. They're very aware. So like, I didn't go back thinking, I did a little bit, but I was probably naive, that this is going to be easy, because it's not. They ride very tight. It's very tactical, and they're very, very strong too.
They're more flash though, aren't they? You can tell us. No one's watching. They're definitely more flash.
They're definitely more flash. Yeah, I got a new pair of riding out boots there a couple of months back, so they're very shiny. So I'm getting a lot of stick for wearing them, so I don't wear them around the corner anymore.
You've gone to the dark side, essentially. You've become flash too, is what you're telling us.
Well, I tried it a little bit, but I think I'll just go back to the old faded boots again. And I wore I was in Roscommon riding one day last year, and it was lashing rain. So I don't know if you'd noticed or not, that a lot of the flat jockeys wear kind of long overalls, breeches if it's raining. They come down over their boots, and they're waterproof, obviously. So I wore a pair of them. I got them off the valet at the races. I had no waterproofs. So there was a jump meeting on the same day. So I wore them anyway, the long breeches down over the boots, and came back in, and my phone was hopping. All the jump lads texting me, calling me names. I won't repeat them now, but yeah, you're a flat this and a flat that. So no, they're still in the bag. I didn't pull them out since.
Don't listen to them. They're just jealous that you've made the switch. That's all.
Yeah, true. I suppose they'd like a lot of them like to be riding the flat as well. The easy money, they call it. So
well, you did point out though, it's a better standard of living, really. Like, and that's not standard of being less likely to have a serious injury. It's a better standard of living in your bank balance.
It is. Obviously prize money is a lot better, but the risk of an injury is a lot less. You're not jumping any obstacles. Obviously you can get a fall at any stage. There's still an ambulance following you around the flat race, but you're not getting hopped off the ground once or twice or however many times a week or a month. So it's more of a consistent living, and obviously prize money is better as well.
So obviously you've made a very specific point of making sure that you're going to enjoy this, and that's a really good philosophy to have. And you can see how somebody who goes about their work with a positive attitude is actually going to learn and absorb lessons and actually be a good person to be around. And so therefore more trainers will have you. You can see how that kind of will work. But in terms of what your ambition is then over the next couple of years, how do you frame that, and how do you begin to just make sure that part of your career is also something that you're thinking about ticking away over in the background?
Yeah, well, I still want to do very well. I mean, I still have the drive, and I mean, every day the entries come out, I'm looking at the entries. What can I ride? What can I get on? I'm doing my best. Where can I go to try and get more rides? So look, I just want to ride as many winners as I can, get as many rides as I can, and break into different yards, ride for new trainers all the time. But I mean, it's very hard. It's hard to get into different places. It's very hard to get rides. Like talking about riding a big winner and getting a few extra rides and winners or whatever. Like last weekend, I had the 2 winners last weekend. Obviously, there's been 3 days of flat racing this week so far. Tuesday, yesterday, and today, and I've had no ride. I have a couple in Navan tomorrow, but it's impossible to get rides now at the minute. But so maybe we just have to work a bit harder.
Profound tomorrow that you're riding, I thought, was very interesting. You've gained a bit of experience on this horse. I think the last time ran on the flat you rode, and it looks it's a 1.6 mile race with I think a maximum field in Navan. Could you explain, and I was looking this morning, how much does the draw matter in a race like that? And I think you're drawing 8, and there seems to be a lot of pace in the race, so you're probably pretty happy. But say if there's a fancied horse who likes to make the run and draw on 23 or something, there's probably a lot going on even over 1.6 miles at Navan.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you have 2 long straights in Navan, but you also have 2 sharp enough bends, so you don't want to be caught too wide. Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, 8 is a grand draw, and I think that horse drops in a little bit. So he'll probably take his time.
How do you mean you think he drops in a bit? You rode him the last day.
Yeah, well, he dropped in a little bit the last day. Yeah, so.
You're not giving anything away, Mark.
So look, I can't give too much away. No, he takes his time. So the draw isn't as important. Obviously, if you want to be making the running or good and positive, the lower the draw, the better, But you do have 2 long straights, and it'll be handy enough to get into a position, with the long straights. So no, he'd hopefully have a little chance. He should like the ground. He's won over hurdles since I last rode him. So hopefully he runs a big race. He
does know, actually. He does know. He's just letting on there. I thought he'd you're riding for the great Ronan McNally as well, which is an interesting alliance.
I ride one for Ronan, yeah. Ronan's been good to me. Obviously, I won in the Real Deal a couple of times, and he's kept using me away. So, another good man to be riding for.
So it's a very interesting period of your career where you're ready to do more and hoping to get more rides and performing well when you do get the rides. It's it feels like something's going to drop for you fairly soon.
Yeah, well, sure, awfully. We'll just keep tipping away at it anyway and see what happens. And we'll work as hard as we possibly can. That was when I set out to do this. That was my thing. We'll give it 200%, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, at least we gave it everything. And we can't look back and say, why didn't we do this or why didn't we do that? So I'll keep working very hard at it and see what happens.
I suppose to that end, it sounds like that decision has been made, though. You did the right thing, and it is working for you.
It is. It's still quite slow. I suppose there was at times riding over jumps, I'd have 5, 6 or 7 rides a day, or like most days going jump racing, you'd have had 3 or 4 rides, whereas it's quite slow now. I mean, it's 1 or 2. It's a shorter season, it's more compact, but it's 1 or 2 rides a day. If you have 3, great. If you have 4, brilliant, So it's slow, and there's a lot of flat jockeys in the country, and I think we've some of the best flat jockeys in the world, in my opinion. So it's hard to compete with them, but I suppose all we can do is do our best and try to keep improving.
All right. Everybody wants to know, where did the nickname Fish come from?
I was living with Martin Ferris back when I was an apprentice in Fozzie's many years ago, and I wanted to get a goldfish. I asked Martin, could I get a goldfish? And he said no, he wouldn't let me. So himself and Davy Condon started calling me Fish. So there are many theories and stories, but that's the
truth.
Story. So that's the truth. That's the truth. So it's stuck ever since.
Well, that's our job done for today. At least we've managed to get that truth out there, or at least your version of the truth, which is really, let's face it, all that counts.
Well, exactly. That's definitely the truth. Anyway.
Well, listen, Mark, best of luck with everything. Continued success, and thanks a million for joining us today. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark.
Super job. Thanks, man.
It's Mark Enright there, our guest this Friday afternoon on Friday Night Racing. Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. It is a tough old gig, isn't it? In fairness, he's making a go of it. I know, obviously, everybody always wants more work and more success, but next time it comes, he's going to be ready for it.
Yeah, he did have 2 winners last weekend, which, as he said, he hasn't had a ride the last 3 days. So 2 winners last weekend, I think, kind of justifies the end, justifies the means. Like Irish flat racing, as he says, because the standard of jockeys. I mean, we've lost the great Pat Smullen, but he's been replaced by this. Colin Keane has just gone to another level. The theory is that spoke to Ben Cohen during the week, and he's a jockey really going places, but he's part of this generation of young lads coming up. I mean, the likes of Dylan Brown McMonagle, Sam Ewing. It's just really, really tough standard, and Mark is essentially a journeyman jockey, and that's the way it is. You pick up rides like that. You're picking up a couple of rides tomorrow, like that horse Profound would definitely have a chance. I think it should be pointed out, like, that jockeys don't have the worst standard of living. Like the last 3 League of Ireland podcasts we've done, the person on the podcast has said how it's really, really difficult to get a mortgage, like really difficult for a footballer to get a mortgage. And I don't think jockeys have the worst standard of living, because if you get paid to ride out, you get a fee for riding. So if you can tip away with enough rides, you'll get enough money. And if you have one decent enough payday, you'll basically be grand. So he's not playing the poor out there, and I think in general jockeys, they don't have the worst standard of life. They have a great thrill from riding horses, even if they're not necessarily winning. They're in the open, fresh air. I was at the Curragh the other morning. We did a piece with Willie McCreary for Off the Ball, actually. And where would you rather be? Like it was kind of a foggy,
yeah.
Foggy,
I saw the photographs. It looks pretty good.
It was absolutely stunning, and it's one of these things that, like, you could have a morning where you're kind of, I don't know, you wake up, you were telling me about you're drinking a lot of coffee today, and it's kind of one of those days you're struggling to get going. But if a morning like that, you could be 4 hours sleep and you go out to the Curragh and you're just like, this is just amazing. And they have a good standard of life, and I don't think they maybe, I think the mortgage broker will be more favourable to them maybe than the professional soccer player in this country.
All right, the tote 10 to follow looks pretty settled for the moment. Tom Malone still heavily in the lead. I'm second, by the way, which is, obviously a massive insult to you, Johnny, who is in third, and Paddy last. 388, 283, 232. They're the scores that we have so far. The next big chance for a shake-up in the standings will be the Longines Irish Champions weekend, which is due to see your big hope, St Mark's Basilica, back in action.
If he runs, yeah.
If he's back from injury. Day 1 of the Longines Irish Champions weekend at Leopardstown will also play host to the Whirlpool, which promises the largest tote pools ever seen in Ireland. Follow Tote's social media channel for more on the Whirlpool and how that will all work. So, racing this weekend, as we've heard, Navan tomorrow.
There's no racing Sunday. I'm not quite sure why that is. It just might be a day where they've literally, because they started doing this for the All-Ireland finals, but I think they just might have more days in the calendar now to give stable staff some time off, even though it's kind of like nurses and people on the front line. There's always somebody that'll have to look after the horse. So even though stable staff technically or notionally get a Sunday off, a lot of them still have to work. They're incredibly hard working. But the Curragh is on tonight, a really good card. And again, I've spoken to a few people that, the difference in even a few people racing has made a significant difference. It's almost like, and a lot of race meetings wouldn't have big crowds anyway, but even having 500, 1,000 there brings a bit of life to it, and owners, let in and all that. There's still a serious issue with indoor, that effectively you're not really allowed to go indoors. So Fran Berry made the point that a couple of elderly people that he met at the races there a few weeks ago just had to go home because the weather wasn't nice enough for them to stay around. So I hope racing is still in the thoughts of people, because we're still in limbo, really. The Listowel isn't far away. Our Showpiece Champions weekend is upcoming, and it doesn't look like they're going to get anywhere near the crowds they want. But anyway, the Curragh's on tonight, and those lucky enough to go can see a good card.
Okay, you actually tipped Profound on Racing TV. That was Mark's.
It should be like 14-1 or something like that. It's a massive field, but it's just it should be able to come home nicely. There's so much pace in the race. So I put up a couple of tips tomorrow. That'll be the second of them. But I think it has a reasonable chance, and it's good that Mark knows the horse as well, because it's also, as you said, it's one easily over hurdle since.
All right, that is this week's Friday Night Racing in the books. You can, of course, stream us live every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock on youtube.com/Off the Ball, or of course you can listen to us every Friday evening from 8 on Off the Ball on Newstalk. We'll see you next week.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.